back, baby.
Offense, you know what to do.
It's football time in Tennessee.
Give me Tennessee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 1796 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Normal Vol fan. Joined alongside Ryan, and we'll be missing Bryce today. He's a little busy, but, we'll get it done. Let's hop right in. I really want to start talking about the blowout performance from the basketball team against Arkansas on the road. What do you think?
Well, Jim, I just want to start off by saying it's nice to have you back. We've missed you, buddy. And hopefully on Sunday we'll have the full crew back. But talking about the game, I kind of felt a big bounce back coming, especially against a team like Arkansas. So it wasn't too surprising to me. And, I saw a lot of worry in the first half on Vol Twitter and elsewhere. But when you score 46 points and a half and only hit 2 threes like we did in the first half, and you're pounding them in the paint, I kind of expected us to stretch it out in the second half. So, and as far as the highlight for players from the game, you got to give it to Jonas Adu. I mean, another 20 and 10 double-double, which he's done 3 times this year. And it's good and maddening at the same time that he can be that good when he wants to be, but then he has performances like he did against Texas A&M. So it's just about the consistency at this point with him and for the team as a whole, really.
Yeah, absolutely. We needed that win. I can't believe we only have 7 games left.
It flies by, man.
Yeah, and I mean, we're watching Vol baseball as we record this podcast, but dude, it's crazy. I just looked and I'm like, dang, we only got 7 games left, which is one of them's tomorrow. And but yeah, man, like you said, Jonas Adu, it's so weird. Sometimes he's the best big man in the country, and there's sometimes where, plain and simple, he just doesn't show up. And it just can't happen. Games like Texas A&M, I wasn't here for that podcast, but you're gonna have games where teams that don't normally hit shots are hitting all the shots, and that's where you got to come in. And you got to get those veterans and rally up the troops and turn it around. But yeah, Jonas Adu, a phenomenal game. Dalton Connect, same thing, 22 points again. Kid's an absolute stud. I want to get your take on Vescovi. I mean, a lot of people say he's not doing too good, but I still think he's playing well. He just isn't scoring like we are used to him scoring. So what do you think about him?
Well, Vescovi, to me right now, it's just he just seems to lack the confidence at this point. I mean, there was a lot of times in the past where he was, the steady Eddie on offense for us and always bailing us out. But, and then there was multiple times against Arkansas where he was wide open and still wasn't able to knock down the shot. But I still think he gives great effort on defense. I think he is important to have on the court. And the silver lining is that if he's going through his big-time slump now, he might be on top of it in March. So I'm holding out hope for Vescovi at this point.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. I think he gives you valuable minutes on the defensive end. But I got to tip my hat to Jordan Gainey. That kid has turned it up. And to me, he's just taken Vescovi's offense and, really helping out because, that's huge, especially when Vescovi's having trouble shooting and Gainey could pick him up. And then, like you said, he still plays good on the defensive end. But Gainey, man, he started off slow, but he's definitely found his groove. And we definitely need that, coming down the stretch. Because realistically, with these games we have left, it's really not, we don't have a super gauntlet. Like, we could go, hopefully win 6 out of the 7 games would be nice, even 5. But I don't know. I think this team's finding its groove. And I think as long as Triple J scores 8 points and gets 5 rebounds, we're 11-1. So hopefully he continues that.
Yeah, I mean, I just like the last 7 games. The next 3 are should all be wins. I mean, you play Vanderbilt tomorrow, Missouri on the road, and then A&M at home, and what will be a pretty heated matchup after what Rick Barnes had to say about Buzz Williams acting like a buffoon at midcourt trying to call a timeout.
Should have been a technical.
So, absolutely, every day of the week, and he let everybody know. And it'll be interesting because Rick Barnes always is the classy guy, and it's not very often he just calls out a coach. And I think it'll be interesting to watch the pregame handshake and the postgame handshake. But talking about the game against Arkansas, like you mentioned it earlier, that you're always, especially on the road, teams are going to hit shots against you, and you're ranked in the top 10, and they're either on the brink of the tournament or well out, like Arkansas is. And it seemed I wrote about it before the Arkansas game. As long as we don't panic when they have their inevitable hot streak, which they did in the first 5 minutes of the game, we should be fine. And I think the reason we lost at A&M is because we did panic. We tried to get it all back at once and dug ourselves a hole we couldn't get out of. So
yeah, just chip it away. Just chip it away.
Yeah. I mean, we just consistently got buckets and ended up turning them over and getting stops against Arkansas. We weren't able to do that on Saturday at A&M, and that's
okay.
Yeah, that's the difference in those 2 games. We just panicked, and then against Arkansas, we didn't panic. I mean, simple as that.
Yeah, and we can't even take Vanderbilt lightly. I know they are not good, and I know we're at home, but we can't take them lightly. They did beat A&M, that beat us, and but all we got to do, man, is this team just has to go handle business. They just got to go handle business, man. It's like some games they just the on switch is off, and
Yeah.
it's just like, what's going on? Especially during the home games, like even against South Carolina at home, that shouldn't have happened. And I'm not taking anything away from South Carolina, but look what Auburn did to South Carolina.
Dude,
they got a reality check.
They got completely blitzkrieged.
Yeah, that's a reality check if you ask me. And Tennessee needs to look at games like that and say, we should be doing that to everybody, because they really should. Our offense is good, almost to the point of being great. Our defense has not been the defense from like last year, which is okay if you're scoring 85 points.
Yep.
But, we can't be having these defensive performances in the first half of like certain games that we've had this year. But I don't know, man. But let's get into talking about Vanderbilt. They come to town tomorrow. What's your take on them? They did, like I said before, they did beat Texas A&M at home with nobody in the stands, which is pretty cool off a buzzer beater. But I just don't see them coming into Knoxville winning. So,
yeah, I think a part of the reason that Vanderbilt played well is that it's kind of hard to play in a damn near empty gym. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
kind of like
weird.
The COVID years.
Yeah, it's just a weird dynamic, and A&M just couldn't. I think it was Van Allen Lubin who randomly scored 20 points for Vanderbilt, like just out of nowhere. And then you always have Ezra Mignon to worry about and Tyron Lawrence, who are far and away their best players. So I think Ziegler and Meshack and Vescovi and all of our guards will have a tough matchup like they did in Nashville. I mean, they made some noise against us in Nashville a few weeks ago, but I don't think they have enough, man. Like you said, especially playing in Knoxville.
Oh yeah.
Like if we just dump it down to Adu like we did against Arkansas, I don't think Vanderbilt has enough big men and enough fouls to go around to be able to guard them. So,
well, here's the thing about that too is like I can't remember who the announcer was, but he put it perfectly. There's a reason why Vanderbilt comes out, and usually in every first half of the game for them, they play extremely hard. They keep it semi-close, But they get to that second half, they just don't have the depth. And that's when teams, turn around and end up beating them by 20. But A&M, man, I think it was a fluke. I think A&M is in for a rude awakening when they come to Knoxville. And, I kind of really hope so because I have a good buddy that's a Texas A&M fan. But, just can't have those games, man. We could literally, if we could win 6 out of 7 games to go into March, that'd be huge.
I think if you win 6 out of 7, you're getting a 1 seed because
for sure.
You still play Auburn at home. You play Alabama on the road. You play South Carolina on the road. You play Kentucky at home. Your last 4 games are where the conference is either going to be won or lost. And those last 4 games are against good to very good teams.
Tournament teams.
Yeah.
Those are tournament games.
Yeah, basically. And I said this on the last podcast. Since we won the SEC tournament 2 years ago with Kennedy Chandler, I could care less about that because it always seems that the team who wins the SEC tournament is always out before the Sweet 16. So my theory is play walk-ons. Like, just get out of there and rest up because I want a Final Four. That's the one thing we have not checked off on our basketball accomplishment list with Rick Barnes.
Yeah, and this is the team to do it. This is 100% the team to do it. You got a good big man. You got the best point guard in the SEC on your team. You got Dalton Connect. You got Jordan Gainey coming off the bench scoring 15+, which is amazing. You got the depth, man. You got the defense. You got the coach. You got the players. You got the fan base. So just go take care of business.
And you also have, we've already touched on it, you have Vescovy, who's contributing not much right now, who could go off at any moment. So do you agree with me about the SEC tournament take? Because I really could care less.
Yeah, is it nice to win? Yeah, absolutely. But it's not like the end of the world. You lose that. As long as you go into March healthy, that's what you want right now. And
yeah,
that's all you could ask for is going into March healthy. I don't even care about the Kentucky game, to be honest. Just don't get hurt. That would be the worst thing ever is you have Kentucky at home and you end up getting hurt right before the tournament. Yeah.
And I've always thought the regular season title means a lot more than a 4 or 5 days right before the big tournament. So I like I said, I've already made my thoughts clear, but this team has a chance to finish strong. If they win 6 out of 7 or even 5 out of 7, like we've been talking about, we're going to get a 2 seed at minimum.
We're lucky that we have Auburn at home. That's all I'm saying.
Their home building is a hellscape.
I give it to them. I honestly think that's probably the most intimidating place to play in college basketball.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, they haven't lost at home this year, and I think they might have lost once at home last year. I mean, they're Tennessee and Auburn have a pretty identical home record the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, and most of Tennessee's success at home is because we've had good teams. I mean, you would have to be a big time homer to think that TBA's environment even comes close to what Auburn has.
And the crowd's got to be raucous that day. Like, none of these people sitting down, doing absolutely nothing. But
yeah, you gotta have everybody locked in. Even Bo Jackson was locked in. He wasn't even taking pictures. He was like, no.
And I love seeing that though. I'm not here for pictures. Let's win this game. Yell, don't sit down. I mean, when you're winning by 50, I'd take a picture. But like South Carolina, I won't take it. I won't put it past them. They came into our building and won. But I still think they're flukes, bro. I don't know what it is. I think they're gonna get, a reality check when it gets to March time.
Yeah, I've said this to my dad multiple times this year, but South Carolina is winning games this year like Rick Barnes whenever he first had his success at Tennessee, was winning games with defense and minimizing the other team's possessions. And we've seen that is not very sustainable if the other team gets hot from three or has a good big man or plays just as good as defense as your team does. So it's a very ugly way of playing, and it's just not sustainable. Like I just said, I mean, I totally agree that we're probably going to go down to South Carolina and beat them there.
Yeah, I mean, I hope the players want to do that because, I mean, they came into your building and took it from you.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, but, you know, anything else you want to talk about with the Vandy game? I mean, there's not really much to talk about with them. It should be a 20-point dub at least.
Yeah. It's a game that you should dominate, and anything short of a 15-point win will have some eyebrows raised throughout the fan base, and I think rightfully so. So just put them to sleep early, keep them to sleep, and win the game and move on to Missouri in the midweek.
Give me some Carr and DeLeon too. I want to see them play.
So we also had some big football news this week, Jim. Our linebackers coach, Brian Jean-Mary, heading back to Michigan. I certainly think that's a bigger loss than Jerry Mack heading to the NFL, because I think linebackers coaches do a lot more for their position group than running backs coaches. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
You can think about it. You can think about it both ways. You could think about it as a big loss. You could, do that whole thing and, sob into your pillow. But Josh Heupel could potentially bring in some, two studs at these coaching positions, and and he's going to have to. I mean, you got a lot of running back coaches that you could potentially go after. I know there's, a couple targets. I don't know if you've seen them, but DeMarco Murray from Oklahoma is one of them. You got Anthony Jones Jr. from TCU. You got Carlos Lachlan from Oregon. You got a good coach in here. That's going to be a big deal. And it's same thing with the linebacker coach. You have plenty of options to where Tennessee shouldn't be worried. Yes, it's a loss, but there's plenty of options, plenty of really good options that could come Tennessee's way.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught the podcast in the midweek, Jim, but we talked about how a running backs coach, you really would just want to get a good recruiter. I think that's the same deal with the linebackers coach too, but I think you also need somebody who knows what they're doing. So all those names you mentioned, I would be happy with any of them, but I trust Heupel to make the right decision at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, plenty of options. And like you said, we need big time recruiters, especially in the running back spot. I mean, you're coming off a year with some of the best running backs in the country, and you still got Dylan Sampson, Cam Seldon, Peyton Lewis. You got a bunch of talent. We need more talent coming in. Same thing, linebacker room. We're lucky we got Keenan Peely back coming in the next year, but you got to have those young kids coming in. So we'll see what Heupel decides to do, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, again, we talked about it on the last episode, but it helps a lot that the running back room is pretty damn good. And I think that you can say the same thing about the linebacker room as well, especially with Peely returning, like you mentioned, then all those young players that you have coming up the ranks. So I totally agree that recruiting is the number one priority. So because I think the players that we have in the program right now will make most linebackers coaches look pretty good. Same thing with the running back coach.
Yeah, I'm excited though, because you get the right names in there, you'll see a lot of focus on Tennessee, and we'll see, man. I think Heupel is really good at picking the right people in these situations.
For sure. Next thing I wanted to talk about, Jim, the Lady Vols, suffered another loss, but this one's not as inexplicable as a few of the ones this year has been. I mean, you played a number one South Carolina in Knoxville, and they looked like they were going toe-to-toe with them. And they were tied going into the fourth quarter, but then South Carolina just kept on turning us over. They held us without a field goal for 8 minutes, I think, stretching from the third quarter till about halfway through the fourth. And they just beat us to sleep in the fourth quarter. I mean, it's kind of expected, but it's disappointing when you had them. You were neck and neck with them for 3 quarters and then ended up succumbing to their
stupid shots, man. I knew it. After the third quarter, I'm like, that's it. I'm like, South Carolina's gonna turn on the Jets, and that's that. But I'm at the point where you let Kelly do this whole season. They're still gonna make more. They're gonna still get to the tournament. It looks like, and see what happens there. I don't expect them to win or even get to a Final Four, or even an Elite Eight. But I expect them to win at least a game or two. And I think Kelly's done. I think you at this point it's got to be. I think you're in the same boat as me.
Yeah, I think the Lady Vols need a hard reset, and I really want it to be outside of the Pat Summit tree, because we've tried that twice now. We hired Holly Warlick, right, who was an assistant with Pat for years and years. Then we hired a former player. I think it's time for a new approach in that program, because it is fully capable of being among the women's basketball elite. And we've discussed it all year throughout the Lady Vol season. Like, it's just fallen so far. And I really think that some fresh blood, and Tennessee women's basketball can go out and get
anybody.
Probably 95% of the coaches in the country.
Yeah, minus South Carolina, LSU, and UConn. I mean, you could get pretty much anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember way long ago when we first started talking about this, who was the person you said you had an idea of who you wanted?
I might have said Kara Lawson, but then that's sticking with another former Pat Summit player. I mean, there's so many options. Code Orange, well, the last time he made an appearance on the podcast, I think it was 2 episodes ago, mentioned Grand Canyon's coach. She's an up-and-comer. Oklahoma State's coach, she's also an up-and-comer. But I think we can
Molly Miller, that's her name.
Yeah. I think that we can go to about any, like you said, anybody say for LSU, UConn, and South Carolina, we can go get anybody.
Do you know Molly Miller's all-time record as a coach?
It's probably damn good.
She is 241-44.
See that? I mean, yes, sign me up right now.
And she's very, good looking.
Yeah. Code Orange.
But I mean, dude, she is someone that could come into Tennessee and attract young talent, because, and even in the transfer portal, her team's doing good, man. They're doing real good. And that's somebody that you could go to. Danny White could go to Molly Miller right now and say, hey, here's this amount of money. Come coach at Tennessee. And she would not say no.
Surely not. I mean, Code Orange mentioned that what the Lady Vols portion of the fan base has with Tony Vitello, the men could have with Molly Miller.
That's a fact. That's honestly the smartest thing he's ever said.
But yeah, I mean, if they're beautiful and a bad coach, I wouldn't want them. But if we had Molly Miller and Tony Vitello, we would
Bro, a winning percentage of .846 is ridiculous.
Yeah, but if we had both of them, the beauty rating among our coaches would skyrocket.
Oh, her apparel would go through the roof.
But yeah, the main point is I do think the Lady Vols are kind of lost in the wilderness, and
it's not the talent. We got the talent, but it's like this. It's like our team gets lazy at some points.
Yeah, I mean, Rakia Jackson is going to be a top 10 pick in the WNBA draft.
She is that hooper.
She's great, and like most of these other players on the team are very experienced. And one thing about the game against South Carolina, Jill Spear did not do well at all. She didn't shoot very well, and I think if she was on, that game would have came down to the wire, and it hurt us a lot that she wasn't. But yeah, the talent's there, the experience is there on the Lady Vols, and they're just not getting it done when they really need to.
Exactly. But hey, we got baseball to look forward to. Basketball, March is just right around the corner. So the Lady Vols, hopefully they could turn it around when come March.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's the hope. But speaking of baseball, let's get into some baseball talk, huh?
Hey, I'm all for it. I mean, our lineup is absolutely disgusting.
Dude, and just disregarding the lineup, Tennessee, as long as Tony Vitello and Frank Anderson are in place, they're always going to have dynamite pitching. I mean, Addison Russell's his sinker right now looks like he should be playing in
10 Ks, bro. 10 Ks in the fifth inning.
Yeah, he's gotten 12 outs and 10 of them are strikeouts. I mean,
there's a reason why Drew's not pitching right now, and it's not because Drew doesn't have the talent to. It's just apparently AJ Russell is just that guy.
Mm-hmm. And he's only a sophomore. I mean, he's gotten that.
If he has the seat, you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Dolander from 2 years ago, not last year, but the year before that.
Yeah. I mean, the improvement that these pitchers make under Coach Anderson is ridiculous year to year, and I'm sure Drew Beam will look great tomorrow. And I'm excited to watch Xander Sechrist maybe lock down one of those weekend starting roles. I mean, because he's very experienced. He's a senior, and it also helps that he's a left-hander. I mean, having a southpaw just randomly in our rotation in SEC play is going to help us a lot.
Absolutely, and SEC play is no joke. You see, Vanderbilt almost lost today.
Yeah, I mean that was a slugfest.
Well, they should have lost, but FAU just choked right at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in your home field, I mean, to come out and win the bottom of the ninth, I mean, winning's winning in baseball. If you can sneak a win in, I mean, that's like us at Clemson last year. We're down to our last strike, and Denton just destroys the ball.
Yeah,
and
I really hope Zane Denton gets through whatever he's going through in his personal life and gets back with the team as soon as possible, because he is a big piece, but the number one priority is, of course, whatever he has going on.
So is that what it is? Is it like a personal issue?
Yeah, he's away from the team at the moment. He said in August that he was going to come back for another year at Tennessee, but he's away from the team at the moment. And, like I said, number one priority is whatever he has going on in his personal life. But baseball-wise, he was our leading run producer last year, and adding him to the lineup we have now, when you add Billy Amick transfer, Cannon Peebles transfer, and all these young guys who we don't even know their names yet, who are probably going to contribute a ton, our lineup gets scary quickly.
Oh, yeah. 1 through 9. I mean, you're wondering who's going to hit the home run. I mean, Cannon Peebles hits a, leadoff single. Billy Amick comes in, hits a home run. And, those guys are, just the tip of the iceberg for the Vols. I mean, Hunter Ensley, Simo hit a rope up the middle in the first inning.
Yeah, and then he hit one to the wall that was inexplicably caught. It kind of pissed me off, but,
And who do we play tomorrow? We play Oklahoma, don't we?
Yes, we got Oklahoma tomorrow, and then we got Baylor to round out this little college baseball showdown down in
It'd be
Arlington.
nice coming out of here 3-0. These are really good teams here.
Yeah, I mean Texas Tech. I wrote about it. People are saying that they're going to compete for the Big 12, which is always a solid baseball conference. Oklahoma's returning like almost all of their position players. Baylor is probably the worst team we're going to play this weekend, but it still looks a lot better than a win over
beating FAU by 1.
Yeah, it looks a lot better than a win over a directional school. So,
but anyways, what else did you want to talk about today? I know you had a couple more things you wanted to get into.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the injunction from earlier this week. Based on everything I've been reading, the NCAA cannot even interpret their own rules in court. They were fumbling around when the judge pressed them on what exactly the rules are. And all signs point to Tennessee is probably going to win this injunction, and all these NIL rules will cease to matter. So, and I've also read that even if we don't win this, the NCAA is likely not to pursue anything further in the court system. And if they were to pursue the notice of allegations, Tennessee would take it right back to court. So I think Tennessee's in a great spot as far as where we stand right now.
Yeah, and that's always good to hear. You know, I don't think it's going to go anywhere because, like you said, they're fumbling with their files in court. They're nervous. We got the Tennessee flag outside the courthouse. They're sweating. Not only that, but there's other teams that are not going to take the NCAA's bullshit. Yeah. And Tennessee just happens to be the first team to do that. But if they go after anyone, they're going to be doing the same thing. And the NCAA can't afford it.
No, I mean, I don't like the NCAA. I said it to you when this thing first dropped a couple of weeks ago. They never went in court. All this just seems like they're grasping at straws for any type of power that whatever little power that they have left, they're desperately trying to cling to it. And another thing, I was glad to see that we didn't have a full-on tailgate session outside of the courthouse. I'm glad that the flag was the most elaborate piece of protesting that we did.
Yeah, no ball walk.
Yeah, that would have been insane. A ball walk outside.
It would have happened though if they didn't say anything on Twitter.
Yeah. I'm glad smarter people than me and a lot of the fan base said that is not necessary, and it probably hurt our chances. So it saved us from some embarrassment.
But yeah, I mean, Tennessee's always the circle of fire in the media. So everyone hates us for some reason, but it's always good to be that guy because usually that means you're doing something right. That's
a great point. I mean, nobody's going to want to take down somebody who's not a threat to them. So,
Cannon Peebles reminds me of Drew Gilbert.
That would be a huge development.
He's up at the plate right now. He just looks like he's like, I'm going to destroy this ball.
Yeah.
Every at bat.
Yeah.
And that's Drew Gilbert.
Yeah. I think last year in baseball, we were 5-10 halfway through conference play, and we were still able to make the College World Series. It is definitely a long haul. You're not going to win or lose Omaha in the next 3 games. You're not going to win or lose it even halfway through conference play like we showed last year. So people just need to buckle up, take everything with a grain of salt until we get, middle of May, nearing the end of conference play to make any drastic conclusions about what this team is going to be or where they will end up.
I think as long as they have the normal great bullpen we have, if our third starter could come in and, light it up, I mean, how does this team not get to Omaha? I mean, the lineup is insanely scary. AJ Russell's throwing like he's Roger Clemens. Drew Beam is Drew Beam. As long as he could be the guy that he was last year, I mean, that's another walking dub pretty much.
Yeah.
And you get that third guy in that rotation that could step up. I mean, you better watch out for the Vols.
Yeah. I mean, even if Sechrist isn't able to hold on to that third spot in the weekend rotation, we have plenty of other candidates. So it's all going to shake itself out. But I think Russell and Beam are definitely stalwarts in the weekend rotation. But it's like you said, the bullpen is always going to be great. And, the hitting – I mean, people forget that our hitting last year was very streaky. And we relied heavily on our pitching last year. Heavily.
Yeah, I don't see that happening this year.
I really don't either. I don't see how you add Amick, Peebles, I mean, and all these other pieces that we've added. And
you still got Blake Burke and Simo and And
especially if we get Zane Denton back before the end of the year. I mean, my sleeper for the year, I've known about this kid for a while, Kavaris Tears.
Oh, I love him.
Dude, he smokes the ball whenever he makes contact. And
yeah, you give him a couple games because right now, like even today, like you could see he's on the ball. It's just give him a couple games.
Yeah, and will be his third year in the program, and I mean he just jumps off the screen whenever you turn on his highlights. And
I do want to say, by the way, Flow Baseball, you suck.
Are you having issues with the streaming?
No, $30 a month, and you can't even give me how hard the pitcher's throwing and what the pitch count is.
Yeah, I'm canceling this bullshit as soon as we're done.
Oh, I already did. I did. I got it and canceled it so I could, just watch these 3 baseball games.
The most random streaming service you've ever heard of, and you got 2 top 25 teams playing in the opening game of the year.
But AJ Russell is still throwing darts right now.
Yeah, I always think that the high strikeout pitcher is kind of a risky. Yeah, he's dealing, man. But it's always a risky proposition because the pitch counts get so high, and if you get to the 5th inning, you're probably doing good if you're a high strikeout pitcher. So my next step for Russell, the thing that I would like to see is, those 10 or less pitch innings where he gets some soft contact or pop flies and stuff like that. And if he can do that and pair that with the strikeout ability he's shown so far tonight, he will be a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. Like I said, he's Chase Dollander reincarnated.
Yeah.
Because that was Doe's worst issue was he'd get 8 strikeouts, but he'd be at like 60 pitches in the 4th inning.
Mm-hmm.
But
absolutely.
I mean,
it was also Chase Burns' issue. He would tire himself out by the 5th or 6th inning.
He pitches tomorrow for Wake Forest.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting story to follow if he can hold down a starter spot there, get moved to the bullpen like he was with us. I mean, it's the same issue. Like I said, if you're a high strikeout guy and you throw that hard, you can't keep up that adrenaline for the whole game. So that's why he was perfect out of the pen, and that's why I think he made a bad decision. But, you just got to wish him luck and appreciate the times that he did have with us.
Whoa, Florida lost today?
Uh-oh.
Florida lost to St. John's 9-5.
Yeah. Baseball is a funny sport. I mean,
that's insane.
But yeah,
at home too.
The Vols look good. They look primed for another run at a College World Series, and I mean, I couldn't be more excited about it. And I've said this a few times on this podcast, but when you factor in the postseason success that Vitello has had the last 3 years, I think he's the best coach on campus currently.
Absolutely. And the hottest coach. Oh.
That is not debatable.
Until Molly Miller gets here.
Please bring her home.
Come on, Danny boy. That's what we want. It's what the people want.
Please.
But anyways,
you got anything else you want to go over, man?
Nah, I'm kind of distracted watching this game. But no, hopefully we can watch the basketball team do well tomorrow. Same thing with the baseball team. Hopefully they could continue the hot streak. But other than that, I mean, there's not much going on with the Vols.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get back to watching this game, man. And the Go Vols tonight will serve two purposes because we're watching the Vols right now. So go Vols.
Go Vols, baby.